this is a good story that the Commanders here, after a 4-13 record in 2023, are playing for a trip to the Super Bowl this weekend. And it keeps me up at night because they were 4-13. The Patriots were 4-13. The Commanders did their 4-13 better because they got the number 2 pick. Had picked a guy I think the Patriots probably would have selected it too as well. But again, okay with Drake Maye. I'm okay with having Drake Maye. That's okay for me. But what I hate is that they both go into the season with a rookie quarterback. They had a rookie quarterback ready to go. They both went in with a new head coach. The Patriots decided to elevate an inside linebackers coach, outside linebackers coach, whatever the hell, who had never even been a coordinator before. And the Commanders went out there and got a guy who had been a head coach of the NFL, who had coached in a Super Bowl before and had some pretty successful defenses in Dallas. So 2 defensive coordinator stops for Dan Quinn, both quite successful. Good teams in Dallas, won a Super Bowl as a coordinator with Seattle, had been a head coach before, had coached in a Super Bowl before. And you stack all that up on one side, and Robert Kraft went with the side of, I liked how this guy interacted with adults in Israel 5 years ago. Let the Patriot way roll on. I've tried to not let the Patriots frustrate me here in the month of January because they did it, so much in that final weekend of the season. And for the whole 17 weeks of the season, they made our lives miserable. But I can't help but get frustrated at that. And it's because, Jaden Daniels was better than Drake Maye. Yep. Dan Quinn, better coach than Gerard Mayo. Sure. There would have been plenty of skepticism if you brought Dan Quinn in here, but at least he had a resume. And what frustrates me even more so is that Washington had some structure in place. This is the most unstructured franchise of my lifetime. And they had a better structure in place to go out and win than the Patriots did going into 2024. Defined roles with GM, player personnel, someone that they had actually brought in whose dad didn't get him a job. They had all of this laid out, and they went out and they spent money in free agency. They went in and they got some veteran guys, right? Bobby Wagner and Dorrance Armstrong, who had a good season for them. Zach Ertz is a nice safety blanket for Jaden Daniels. They don't go out. They didn't need to go out and get, these big time money moves. They went out and they made some smart football decisions on some veteran guys. Wake up the echoes of George Allen here, over the hill gang. And here they are, a 1 win from the Super Bowl. And the Patriots instead re-signed they fire Belichick. They tell you about how bad the regime was at the end. They tell you how the guy left you with nothing. And all they do is go and re-sign all of his guys. All the guy, the boogeyman that left you with nothing. That's how you're reinforcing your roster. You go out and re-sign these guys. You franchise tag these guys. And you're signing Chuks Okorafor off the street, who ditches the team after one regular season game. And Washington went and got Dorrance Armstrong and Zach Ertz. And this is what I mean, man. I know it's not Dan Snyder in there anymore, but to think that 2 years removed from that absolute dumpster fire, they are in a much better situation than the Patriots are. It's mind-numbing, man. It's got to be frustrating. So now I wonder, can the Patriots make a similar leap to what Washington did this year? Because the way I look at it, there's no reason why not. It would be pretty stunning if they got there. But it's also pretty stunning that Washington's there right now. Okay. And I feel for the Cowboys fans, all NFC East matchup in the conference championship, and they're not in it. I'm just kidding. I don't feel bad for them. But anyway, looking back at the Patriots here, Like, they have the young quarterback. I think we can all agree that Drake May's talent level is somewhere near Jaden Daniels, even though Daniels had a much better year, had much better support around him. But the talent level's not far off, I don't think, from Drake May. You have a new coach in here who has a resume before. Okay, he hasn't coached in the Super Bowl, but he's coached in the conference championship game, won NFL Coach of the Year before, above 500, 9 games over 500 in his NFL head coaching career, who is also a hard ass and has been there and done that, been with a couple different organizations. So already that's night and day from last year. Plus, you've got even more cap room this year than what Washington had last year. You can get some of those veterans like a Dorrance Armstrong type, and you can also get some of the big names on the market, like a T. Higgins type or a Ronnie Stanley type. And now, as we're starting to see, to use a term that I'm sure was echoed a lot yesterday on Monday, they're kind of draining the swamp a little bit in terms of how that front office is being structured now. We talked about it on the show yesterday. Robin Glazer's part of the decision making. Apparently, the last couple of years, she's been with the organization almost 20 years, and no one knows what she does. And there's all kinds of conflicting reports as to what kind of power she has over the decision making. And Belichick drops her name and everything. And there are a bunch of people trying to tell you, oh, she has nothing to do with it. But yeah, it just so happens once we get the new coach in here, the adult in the room, she's resigning a week later. Something's up there. And I think it's for the better for the Patriots, for the best. Because now it looks like we're going to have a power structure in place. And whether Elliott Wolf survives through rookie minicamp, I don't know. But we're starting to see Vrabel bringing his guys in the front office. He brings in his Ernie Adams, the striker guy. Brings in Ryan Cowden from the Giants, player personnel guy. And I don't know why they're dragging the feet on the coordinators, but obviously you know that there's a much different Rolodex in terms of the coordinators Mike Vrabel can choose from than what Gerard Mayo could choose from. And you knew that was going to be one of the problems going into last year, and it was probably worse than we thought. Like, who wants to go and coach for Gerard Mayo? Nobody knows him. Nobody knows him outside that organization. There are guys who want to go and coach for Mike Vrabel. You know, I'm not saying he's Sean McVay, but there are coaches out there that want to go and coach for Mike Vrabel. So it would take a lot to go right, but I'm not predicting for the Patriots to be a playoff team next year because of the roster I see right now and how many holes they need to fill. But I think a lot of people in Washington were saying the same thing last year. I really do. And again, conference championship game is a miracle, but I don't think it's crazy for the Patriots to be competing for a playoff spot or in a playoff spot next year. A lot of things need to go right, but you've just seen the blueprint. Like, this is the blueprint. You've got a quarterback who is insanely accurate, like Jaden Daniels. He and Drake May, both well over 65% completion percentage, which is a good number to have, kind of a magic number. They're both, I mean, like, obviously the stats are much favored towards Jaden Daniels. He played 4 more games. That's a big part of it. But a lot of the kind of percentage stats are very similar. I'm talking completion percentage, 67 for Drake May, 69 for Jaden Daniels. Very nice. Passing yards or yards per attempt, passing yards per game is not that far off. Ratings not terribly far off. Rush per attempt. Both these guys can get out of the pocket a little bit. It's not that far off talent wise. And I do want to put in one last note, because I've been going back and forth on whether I want it to be Josh McDaniels as the guy, as the OC. And I just had to go back and look at 2021, because I saw a Mac Jones this year that it didn't look like he belonged in the league. And it's how quick we forget what it was like in 2021 with Josh McDaniels, when Mac Jones was a Pro Bowler and threw for almost 4,000 yards in a team with a top 5 strength of schedule in the league that year. And they finished 10-7 and went to the playoffs. Like, are you kidding me, dude? That's incredible, man. And they had Oh my gosh. They had, I think it's 3 games. 3 games with over 45 points that year. 2 of them over 50. Mac Jones was the quarterback, and Jacoby Myers was their leading receiver. And they had 3 games where they went over 45 points. They went over 50 twice and went 10-7. 3,800 yards for Mac Jones, 22 touchdowns. 13 picks ain't great. Made it to the Pro Bowl, Rookie of the Year, second in the voting. Like, that's miracle work when you see what Mac has become since then. So for all the naysayers on Josh McDaniels, like, I got to have a better reason other than you thinking that it's, too close to Belichick and trying to get some of the old magic in there. Because I just couldn't disagree more the more I look at the numbers. I'm ready for a Josh McDaniels reunion and ready to see what he can do with Drake Maye. Because if he's in there and he's got an offense tailored towards this kid, you might not need more than Pop Douglas. Probably do. But you can get to a playoff spot. I mean, you got to remember how bad the team was in 2020. They were terrible. And they went out and they got a new quarterback. And they used a bunch of free agency money to get some veteran guys in here. And they went from barely scathing to scraping out a 7-9 record with Cam Newton to making the playoffs the next year. So maybe it's not as crazy as we think. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. I want to know what you guys think in the comments. Tell me how stupid I am, and be sure to like and subscribe along as well.
We are Rogue Media Sports.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. And if you like this video, be sure to give us a like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel a ton. You can follow me on Twitter here for some more outrageous Boston sports takes coming to you every weekday at noon Eastern time. And then after that, wherever you get your podcasts.
We are Rogue Media Sports.